My friend Innes is a keen fisherman, and when he came to visit me last summer, I asked him about fishing and if he goes fishing in the rain. Hello and welcome to a special Mansion Inglés podcast. And here I am with my good friend Innes. Good afternoon, Innes.
Good afternoon, Craig.
Thank you for being with us.
No, pleasure.
And today we're going to speak a little about fishing, which I understand is one of your hobbies.
Very much so.
So could you tell us, please, what you remember about the first time you went fishing?
I first went fishing when I was about 7 with my father, and he said to me how exciting it would be, and if we were lucky, we could catch a fish to eat for our tea. As it turned out, we caught 3 crabs and lots of seaweed. I didn't find it particularly exciting, and we certainly didn't have anything for tea.
Did you eat the crabs?
No.
You threw them back?
Well, I ran around screaming a little bit because they had sharp pincers. But no.
So you were 7 years old?
Indeed.
And did you fall in love with the sport then, or did it take you a while?
No, I grew to love the sport. I kept catching crabs for a number of months, and when I finally did catch a very, very small fish, I thought I can see now why my father wanted me to try it.
Were you going fishing in a river or in the sea?
Initially, my father had a boat, and I was fishing off of his boat in the river, which is a sea river that was seawater. But as time went on, I then explored different options: sea, off a boat, in a lake, in a freshwater river, and also off of piers and things like that.
I must be honest, I find fishing incredibly boring.
Craig, I'm sorry, can I interrupt? You haven't lived properly then.
Well, why am I finding fishing so boring? Because I've been I've been 4 or 5 times, and after I set up the equipment and I'm sitting there waiting for the fish to bite, I get bored.
Really? Well,
what am I missing? Well, why do you not find it boring?
I feel it's the hunter-gatherer instinct in most men.
Can you explain what the hunter-gatherer instinct is?
I feel that it in a way that there's some sort of instinct in nature that makes me go out and try and catch tea. This is what I
tea,
tell
tea and milk to drink.
No, not tea and milk. Tea to eat
and
food. Exactly, food. So whether it be a buffalo, whether it be a reindeer, in my instance, it's a fish for fresh water, possibly.
I see. Do you fish in the rain?
I try not to, but
because it does rain a lot in the UK.
It does indeed, and sometimes I can't avoid fishing in the rain. And strangely enough, when I do fish in the rain, I seem to catch more fish.
If you go fishing and it's not raining, and suddenly it starts raining and you're not prepared for the rain, do you go home?
I get very wet.
Are there fewer fish around when it's raining? Do they escape from the rain and hide somewhere?
I mainly fish in a lake, quite a small lake, and they have nowhere to hide. And strangely enough, when it's heavily raining, the oxygen that is created by the raindrops hitting the water gives more energy to the fish, and they sometimes feed more, and there's more likelihood to catch a fish.
Really? So you're saying that when it's raining, you actually, in your experience, there are more fish around than when it's not raining? They're affected by the rain?
Same number of fish, Craig, but the fish are more likely to take your bait and feed.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. What's the difference in this between a fishing rod, and a reel? R-E-E-L.
Okay, a rod is the long piece of equipment which ranges in length between 6 foot and 14 feet.
So it's like the big stick that you use.
And it needs to be a certain length to cast the bait to where you expect the fish to be. So if you're fishing quite close in, say off a boat, you have a short rod, 6 foot, 7 foot maybe. If you're fishing a long way from shore, say off the beach, you often see, especially in Spain, you'll see lots of people fish off the beach. They have a very long rod which can cast the bait a lot further, which will get to hopefully where the fish are.
So to cast means to throw it. So you throw the bait, which is the food the fish eat, and you throw that a long way from the beach.
Indeed, yes.
Okay.
And sorry, the reel is what holds the line which is in turn attached to the bait at the very end of the line. So you have the line, you have the bait, which is where the fish are hopefully going to bite with the hook on. And that's
What's a hook?
The hook is a piece of usually a piece of bent metal with a barb at the end. That is usually covered by the bait you're fishing with, that the fish see the lovely delicious morsel, bites into delicious morsel, and that barb and hook catches in their mouth, which allows you to pull the fish to the boat or the side or to the shore, wherever you are fishing from.
That's clear. And I understand that for bait, the food that the fish eat, you can use a fly or an imitation of a fly.
Yes.
And a worm. So what's the difference between a fly and a worm?
Okay, well...
both insects, aren't they?
No, neither of them.
Sorry.
Well, okay, a worm is definitely not an insect, Craig. A worm is I'm not sure what it is, but it's not an insect. But a worm is what...
It's like a small snake.
No. I don't know. You're going to have to ask David Attenborough about the difference between a worm and a fly.
A worm is a horrible wiggly thing
exactly you find in your garden
to catch fish,
and that's their natural food. Right. And so you're more likely to catch a fish with a worm because that's what they naturally feed on. With a fly, if you're fishing with a fly, it's not literally a fly you catch and put a hook on it. A fly is an artificial fly that you make from feathers, fur, pieces of cotton, which you then tie to a hook to imitate. So it'd be a pretend fly, and so the fish you're trying to fool the fish in different ways. So you then cast the fly. Say you pretend you make a mosquito. You may have a very small hook. You tie pieces of feather and fur, so it looks like a mosquito, and that's half the fun, is trying to convince the fish that it's a real mosquito, not just a piece of feather and fur.
I see. What's the difference between fins and a towel when speaking about fish?
Okay, well, fins with a fish would control the direction of the fish swimming. So you have lateral fins and dorsal fins, which all in effect either streamline or direct the fish up, down, side, left to right.
Is a fin the thing on the back of a shark that sticks out the water?
That is a dorsal fin, yes.
That's a fin as well?
Very much so. Whereas a towel is the power of the fish. So most fish are powered by either a small or large towel, and usually you can find whether they're predator fish with a large towel or more of a grazing fish, so feeding on coral, whatever, usually have a small tail. They don't need the speed as much as the predator fish.
I see. And finally, Innes, what's your favourite fish to eat?
I fish for trout every day. In London, I have a trout lake near me, and my favourite fish is salmon. Because I have far too much trout.
Where do you go to catch salmon? Do you go all the way up to Scotland?
I've tried to catch salmon 3 times now, and as yet I'm not successful.
You haven't caught a salmon?
I have travelled all the way to Scotland, spent lots and lots of money trying to catch a salmon, and that is still to happen.
But when you catch your first salmon, I'd love to share it with you, because that's my favourite fish.
Fantastic.
Okay, good luck for the future catching your salmon.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you very much, Innes.
My pleasure.